Welcome back to the Expat Files. Tane Nix here. I got an email today, sorry, not an email, a comment on a video that I did recently. It was one line, and I took about 10 minutes to type a response to it. And I'm going to share that response with you here from memory. It's a topic I know a lot about. It's a topic I've spoken about quite a bit. The comment to my video was, all of the evil in the world from the US and Western countries is because of the ego. Roughly translated. I'm paraphrasing here. This kind of misapprehension, first of all, everybody in modern parlance and in the vernacular use of the term ego considers the ego to be synonymous with self-importance. This is, of course, a very low-level, elementary definition of the term ego. Your ego, properly understood, is your individual personality. It's not some other thing. So when people say stupid comments like, oh, I figured everything out, it's your ego. These people don't know what they're talking about, and of course they are hypocrite. The ego is the center of your personality. It's the unique thing that makes you you. If there's one thing the West got right, it's that we understood how to structure a society based on the sovereign idea that the individual is a sovereign entity and is not to be interfered with. That turned loose the greatest, some people would say, Doug Casey, for example, would say that Western culture, Western civilization, is the only one that matters, historically speaking. I happen to disagree with that statement. In some ways it's profoundly ignorant too, but Doug's a smart guy, and so I understand why he's saying it and where he's coming from. But the reason that it's a dumb thing to say and to equate ego consciousness with nothing more than self-importance and to deny all of the great things that have come from individuals. No ego, no light bulb. Thomas Edison was an individual. There was nobody like him. He figured out how to do that. Nobody else did. No Elon Musk, no Starlink, okay? And again, whether you're a fan of Musk or not is not the point. To denounce all things based on individual idea of the uniqueness of the individual as bad because you don't have enough either brain power or you're not well thought out enough to just equate all ego consciousness with self-importance is really stupid. And I pointed out to the commenter as well, look, you writing this comment, that comment comes from your ego. Dummy. The whole idea that you can think for yourself is ego consciousness. That is your personal, individual consciousness saying, this is me, that's them, I'm this, I'm not that. It's a differentiator. And Western culture got this so correct that the explosion of creativity, achievement, innovation, inventions, discoveries, so many of the last, say, 400 or 500 years have been influenced by individuals. It's individuals who come up with solutions, right? The Wright brothers weren't collectivists. They didn't sit around and think like everybody else. They got busy with an idea that they alone thought up or that very few other people may have thought up, and they were able to implement the idea of a flying machine. So I hate hearing part of my commentary and also my sort of rabid reaction about people who think so shallowly to say that, oh, I have it, everybody. Call off the search. I know what's wrong with the world. It's the ego. These people are fucking dumb, straight up, because you cannot deny that the individual, the achievements of individuals is also a component of ego individuality. All of the things that have been developed throughout the ages, a huge number of them, which have come in the last 500 years from people in the West who dared to think individually. Doesn't matter, like name any hero of yours, right? Steve Jobs thought up a bunch of cool shit and gave birth to Apple. And you could go down the list of individuals who have impacted your life and all of our lives because they dared to think for themselves individually. That is all a component of and a result of highly, highly developed ego consciousness that was allowed to flourish because we crafted and very painstakingly over many centuries developed a really unique culture and a unique take on why individuality matters. You know who doesn't have an ego? If you think offshore structures like where to bank, how to invest in foreign real estate, and where to set up your foreign trust are difficult or complicated, they're not. That's not the hard part of creating an international lifestyle. The hardest part is the decision to go. That's why I wrote Secrets of the Expat Adventure, to share with you a deeply personal view of what happens when you decide to cast off the chains of a normal life full of predictable outcomes. I don't want to spoil the ending for you, but you quickly discover yourself living your best life, the life you were meant to live, instead of the one you're stuck with. Across 156 pages, I'll share the incredible adventure I've enjoyed because of my decision to leave my old life behind and create an international lifestyle. I lay out for you the consequences of remaining in a life or location where everything is familiar, contrasting that with the almost magical growth and gain that is possible once you decide to take the path of adventure. There's something deeply mysterious about choosing an adventurous life. Once you commit, helpers appear, and events seem to unfold in an almost magically choreographed manner. You find yourself learning, living, and loving your life in a way that you thought you'd lost forever. There is no financial gain that compares with the recovery of the best parts of yourself. Fortunately, the decision to internationalize is also a great way to get wealthy. I give you real examples of how much easier it was for me to find and profit from the real estate and other investment opportunities I came across simply by choosing to play on the very uneven playing field of developing markets. If you're worried about what's happening in your home country and you're on the fence about whether or not you should create your own plan B, Secrets of the Expat Adventure will give you clarity and inspiration to choose your own path of freedom and adventure. I promise you'll never look at your life the same way again once you discover what an international lifestyle can do for you, your family, and your wealth. To get your copy, click the link below this video. A cow in the field doesn't have an ego. Collectivist societies, where the whole idea, give you an example, the indigenous people in San Marcos in Guatemala, where I live. If you asked somebody, say 20 years ago, it's changing now. I'll give you an example of how it's changed. If you asked somebody, say 50 years ago, an indigenous person in a little pueblo in Guatemala, hey, what do you want to do with your life? They could not answer. They couldn't even conceive of, they wouldn't understand the question. The idea of having your own path in life is a Western idea, and it is utterly and totally 100% based on a view of the world that says that ego consciousness matters. Now, it's true, the ego is, of course, also the seat of your self-importance, but try living without being at least a little bit self-important, and let me know how that goes for you. I would venture to guess that you wouldn't like living that way. In collectivist societies, nobody thinks outside the normal confines. Everybody thinks the exact same way. Nobody tries to come up with a different way or an innovative solution to a problem. That's the definition of collectivism. And so I'm on my soapbox here, and I hope you understand and will excuse me. I hope you can understand why it's such a low-level way of thinking. It shows no understanding of the incredible good that has come from ego consciousness. And what has happened in the modern era is that individuality has become perverted, and I mean that literally. The biggest perversion of which is, hey, I'm a man and I'm trapped in a woman's body, or I have a vagina between my legs, but I'm a man, please go along with it. And actually, not please go along with it, you have to obey my fantasy, or else. And so that perversion of that excess, that abuse of ego individuality is a lot of what has caused that is at the root of the culture war that is taking place in the US and elsewhere. It is a psychological aberration that says, not only am I a unique individual, I'm so fucking unique, you have to play along with my little game and my fantasy, and you have to pretend like my little fairyland construct that I want to live in is real. And if you don't, I'm going to complain to the state and get the state to use its coercive power of the threat of force to make you obey. Obviously, this is being roundly rejected. And if nothing else good comes out of Trump's 4 years, at least that wheel, that part of the wheel of history has begun to turn, and may it never resurface. So this is a bit of a different video than the normal thing that I record on here about the places I get to go, but at least you get to see where I live for a while longer anyway. See the guys surfing today. The bottom line is, if you're a Westerner, you're an individual. Whether you want to be or not, we live in a society where there's no payoff to trying to be collectivist. There's no benefit to giving up your own thinking. The greatest gift that any culture ever had or gave to any portion of its population exists right now in Western countries, still to this day, where you have the opportunity, if you can cultivate the ability to think for yourself. It's the best thing that ever happened to the human race, in some sense. And to deny it or to denounce it is a terrible, terrible waste. I created the Expat Files because I'm in touch with a lot of really kick-ass individuals. If you want to know more about what we do and the events I have coming up, please get in touch with me. Check out my new book, Secrets of the Expat Adventure, where I delve into my own unique journey, self-importance and all, and I'll talk to you again in a new video. Remember, your freedom begins the moment you realize nobody else is coming to save you. Thanks for watching. I'll be back with more great stuff.